but I am really fired up by working with amazing young people who are sometimes half my age, and they invent materials that can eliminate plastic, or cell therapy and solving Parkinson's disease. I'm like, my goodness, what's the better use of me and all my experience and knowledge than helping them achieve their own goals? So I love being the force behind and really blowing wind into their wings so they can fully stretch. So if I can help them believe in themselves so they can manifest that vision that they have, wonderful.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Rexhen, and today's guest is Ania Lihota. She's a powerhouse of transformation, vision, and leadership. She's an executive coach, board catalyst, speaker, and adventurer. Ania brings over 2 decades of global executive experience to her coaching practice, helping leaders unblock bold vision and authentic maturity. Her motto, "You can only take others as far as you got yourself," isn't just a phrase, it's a lived philosophy. From driving 13 billion IPOs and coaching the first Black female CEO of a global oil company to climbing Mount Everest and building schools in Nepal, Ania's journey blends business mastery with deep personal evolution. She's helped over 1,500 leaders reshape their thinking, navigate imposter syndrome, and lead with purpose. And today she's here to share the lessons, the breakthroughs, and the mindset shifts that have made that impact possible. And it's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Ania.
Thank you very much, Rexhen, for this amazing introduction.
It's a pleasure for us to have you on the show. So I want to learn more about your beginnings. Tell me a little bit more about what inspired you or what got you to push you to start your coaching business and become a coach yourself.
So it started still in my executive career. I started to be known as a leader maker, as an executive director at UBS. And that reputation and being bold in actually empowering people to live from their own purpose, need to grow, hunger to grow, fueled that initial God, I'm in the wrong profession, I've got to shift. But the final trigger was I came back from climbing in Antarctica, and it was such an isolation and wonderful place to rethink or reconsider what am I doing? Am I living in alignment with my heart? And when I got back and I was leading this massive stand-up meeting, we were transforming an IT system to process settlements. And I looked around and I thought to myself, Jesus, this is so boring business-wise. But what fascinates me, why some people don't know the answer and put their hand up, and some know the answer and they won't speak. What is that hidden dynamic that I'm observing in this meeting? And that was the moment I thought, this is my new calling. I am done with business, and people is it. And yeah, it took me 2 more years to leave the safety of the paid job, but I never looked back since I did it in 2012.
And it's been 12 years and a half that you've started your own coaching business, right?
Yes.
And so which part of your coaching journey do you find the most rewarding since you started your coaching business?
Well, so I am coaching myself through coaching others. And my motto, you can't take others as, further that you got yourself, is, as you said, lived philosophy. So I started coaching first-time leaders, then heads of departments, then CEOs, and now I'm onto board and people who really want to create a new world. And I'm so fulfilled and inspired by leaders I coach that it's a reciprocity circle. I grow, they grow, I grow, they grow. We co-create the future that we want them to live in and me to be part of.
And so when it comes to the people that you work with, these leaders, do they come from a specific, like, is there a specific audience, a specific industry, or maybe a specific demographic that you find yourself typically working with mostly?
Well, there is, and I don't know if you call it a demographic, but there are people who are on a cusp or something either very uncomfortable or something amazing in their life. And it might be that career push to be somewhere, or inventing a new business, or an IPO, which changes completely everything, their whole world. And they need to die in the current version of themselves and really get reborn. And I'm fantastic in that transition.
What does the transformation exactly look like for them once they work with you? You said they have to like reinvent themselves in a way.
It's a shift in identity. It's much deeper than mindset or an attitude towards life or problem solving, or even what problem do I want to solve for the world, i.e. bold visioning. It's really shifting identity, your deepest core of yourself. And that's, for example, from a founder to a CEO, from an employee to a partner, from private-owned company to public-owned company. And that shift in identity is very different.
And on a high level, what does someone need to do, or what do you mostly look at to make that shift in identity?
Well, first of all, I test for ability to self-reflect within people. And if somebody doesn't have that self-reflection loop, we probably won't work together as long as they can't own fully how they show up in the world. I can help them break that and see. So that would be the shift of identity from victim consciousness to somebody who really lives their own life. And it all depends on me, what I think, what I do, what my intention is. And when somebody is in that stage, we can start progressing towards whatever ultimate goal they are setting for themselves.
So that's interesting. So the type of like challenges that you help them progress over are challenges that require self-awareness, knowing yourself, being reflective of yourself. And then oftentimes do you feel like once you have that awareness, is there some action that needs to happen from the leader, or is that a natural change that happens once you have that self-awareness?
I mean, it's beyond the aha moment. There has to be a breakthrough or an epiphany to really shift the identity. And the manifesting in 3D reality is part of the program. So they have to, we set experiments for them, for example, as part of the program. And experiments differ from a really conversation they don't want to have, or making a decision that is really like a sweaty palm situation. Okay, serves their purpose and their future, and doesn't serve that old version of themselves. And there is a feeling, I use the strong word, the death, because it's really hitting on that ego part that has to let go and allow to come.
And do you find that with the leaders that you work with, there are some relapses or going back to old patterns sometimes?
Yeah, with every breakthrough, there are breakdowns present. What helps is like, oh my God, why did I go there again? And that self-reflection, hold on. Can I get myself out of this situation? Or do I have to go through? 99% of situations are reversible, because you can still call up and say, no, I'm not making this deal, or no, sorry, I made a mistake, or I misjudged. But it takes courage to make that call.
Yeah, it takes courage to like have that relapse and still move forward and not give up and just like continue to like do that self reinvention of your identity. It's such a complex topic though when you think about it. So working with you, it means that they plan for these relapses, for these breakdowns, for these coming back to the old patterns. They are planned that these are going to happen at some point, and then in the future they happen less and less. Is that what?
That's right. Because you have to dehabituate your tank almost from reacting in a certain way. The thought is much faster than action. So it takes a while to start monitoring your thoughts so it doesn't reoccur.
Cool. Well, I also want to ask you about like going back to your coaching business, where do you find your clients, or where do clients find you in terms of like marketing? What is working well for you right now?
Well, at the moment, referrals, because I have been doing this for 13 years, but it wasn't always that, or it wasn't always easy. And I started in a very traditional way of having a list of 100 people on a piece of paper and, who can be introduced to who. I had to change my own identity and a pitch in a way of, okay, I'm not an executive director, I'm a coach now. And what is the value that I bring to people that will interact with me? There's no brand. I am the brand. So what am I projecting and how I'm living my life so people can see the authenticity and what I am pitching. I'm also walking the talk. And now it's mainly referrals. Yeah.
And for someone who wants to build their referral network, what advice would you give to them? How have you built it over time?
Again, it takes courage to ask people for recommendations, written. Sometimes leaders don't want to say they've been coached, but going back and asking them, can you introduce me to somebody? People, if you're going through organizations directly, like, can I be introduced to your HR function, or is there a head of coaching? Because coaching becomes more and more popular and mainstream now. Companies understand, or people who start up businesses through Y Combinator or other incubators have coaching almost built in, like VC clubs. Now, okay, everybody who invests will coach the founders to have a success.
By the way, I really like the background picture, Bangkok, Starry Night.
Yes.
Is it Bangkok? Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't see it, because they're going to listen to the podcast, Anya has the Bangkok Starry Night picture on her back, which is cool. So I wanted to ask you, oftentimes a challenge that I've seen coaches bring up even on this podcast is that within the coaching industry, people don't often see the value or don't believe in coaching. When someone like comes to you and they say, I think I can figure this out on my own, how do you help them understand the real value of coaching?
Sometimes I don't. I say, good luck. And off they go. And maybe sometimes 4 months later, they call me back and say, oh, I couldn't actually figure this out. So I learned over the years for myself to have a board of directors, personal board of directors, because we go for advice when we buy a house, when we choose a school. We spend money on advisory services. And yet we don't understand that our own life is the most precious thing that we should be caring about. So coach, for me, is part of that board of directors. You probably have your personal trainer, you have your nutritional advice now, you have your yoga teacher. Who is helping you grow and mature in your own life? Because it's not always executive or leadership coaching. And if I were to make a really bold statement, is no leadership coaching. There is always, how do I mature as a person to be able to hold certain situations, paradoxes as yes rather than either or? How can I see a bigger picture? How can I be unafraid to make a proposition for the board or the team? We can't fake authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very tough to fake. That's why it is there, and it makes the person more valuable because it's not fakeable.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also, it's like what adds most value to a person is that they can be authentic. So basically, you're not trying to push people who don't really believe in coaching to really understand that there is value in this thing, really trying to explain it to them that there is value, right?
I might paint a dream or a picture of their future self that they could see. But it's also the true transformation is not for faint of heart, because there is some growth pain included in the package. And a person has to understand that.
And just to dig a little bit deeper on that, how does the pain and growth look like?
Well, learning, true learning, and you can see it even with kids, involves some embarrassment or even sometimes shame that I had this belief about myself or my partner or the business, or I was telling them it's not possible and they've proven me wrong. And I have to eat that now and say, well, no, I was wrong and you were right, which is even more difficult to say for some leaders. So that shame if a person is not ready to accept that, oh God, but it's only a shame of growing or me learning or relearning life in a way, and me staying current to where we got to as humanity or as economy or as a system, people won't transform.
Do you believe that, just like, for example, your clients, should coaches also have coaches?
Supervisors, yes. So we don't do transference, which means coaches can get entangled with the issue of the client. So what I was referring to as my own growth also happened, because whenever I saw a pattern of me being entangled with a client and another client shows up and I'm again in this pattern, I took to supervision and I helped myself to untangle that pattern for myself, which was something I learned in my past. And that made me more and more free to offer bold visioning and really sitting in dream sessions that people wouldn't dare otherwise have.
So when you say supervisors, do you have any right now?
Yeah, I have a supervisor where I take issues that show up for me in my working with the client.
Oh, I
And
see.
I can park that for myself and tell myself, okay, well, no, that's me getting triggered. And I will take it to supervision. I'm staying with my client just as a mirror, and I will do a clean job then.
Interesting. So when it comes to supervisors, that is not like a coach for coaches in this case.
Well, this person helps me analyze the case of where I felt triggered in a session and see how I, first step, could park that and then own it for myself and be coached on it. So coaching me is part of that, but it's through supervision. And I hope all the coaches out there who are listening to that will get one, because that's the growth. That's the almost guarantee of your business success.
It has been actually, even through the research that I've done, not specifically, it could be similar in similar ways as supervisor as well, but like one of the best investments that we've seen from that research paper that I did on the end of 2024 was that from the coaches that I've interviewed, like it seems like having another coach has been one of the best investments for coaches, as opposed to a lot of coaches I've seen have also invested a lot of money on certifications, but the clients themselves, unless your client is a company that requires you to be certified, the clients themselves do not seem to really be impressed by your certification. They actually are impressed by your skill level. Coaches have been one of the best investments. And unfortunately for most coaches, not all of them, some coaches have seen value in certifications, but for a good number of coaches, it has been the worst investment in terms of like the amount of return that you can get on that investment. So I wanted to ask you, right now with your coaching business, is there something that is coming up? Like, is something that you look forward to, something like in terms of goals for your coaching business? How does that look like?
Well, I'm purpose-led. So it's not a business goal per se, but I want to do what I love. And that is really connected to shifting humanity to a different level, a higher paradigm. And similarly with leadership, I'm really passionate about selfless or egoless leadership and maturing people. Because I believe that actually change can happen only through companies. The politicians are, done. The religion or churches or all sorts of dogmas are done. I mean, business has a role to play. So if I can contribute to that positively, I will spend time, effort into.
So this is a mission for you. And what would you say is a challenge that you are working towards fixing in the short-term future? What is something that you're trying to solve for next right now with your coaching business? What is something that if you solve that, maybe things will get better?
Getting more clients in startup businesses that are involved in sustainability.
So more clients in startup businesses. Right now, the clients that you have are a mix of startup and mid-sized companies, or?
Mid-sized private companies, family businesses, or some large corporations still, which I really divide into like an old economy and the new economy. And I believe that the startups and the like Series A ready businesses, which are concerned with the saving the planet or serving humanity, and will benefit from my support. And that's what I'm really passionate about. Or women, like, for example, I work with a lot of women in Middle East and really changing the paradigm of what is possible for them. Again, incorporation, leading. If you imagine a Middle Eastern woman leading, being promoted to a director level and leading people who could be their uncles, how much of a shift it requires to be able to do it effectively and efficiently for the company.
And what would you say is holding you back from reaching out to or like enrolling more startup companies within your program right now?
Well, it's access, going and meeting people, very diligent focus on business development. And maybe marketing, maybe like creating something that could serve as door opener.
I agree. I think, that could be one of the missing pieces, is trying to get some more awareness around these startups, around your programs could be one thing that you could work on. So this has been great so far, by the way. Let me know if there's any final advice you'd like to give to other coaches, just like yourself, that are trying to make an impact.
I mean, it's really simple. I'm not saying it's not hard, but I really started as a mission-led business of maturing people. And now I am enlarging that into planet or sustainability or the future that sometimes we can't even imagine yet. And it certainly doesn't exist. But I am really fired up by working with amazing young people who are sometimes half my age, and they invent materials that can eliminate plastic, or cell therapy and solving Parkinson's disease. I'm like, my goodness, what's the better use of me and all my experience and knowledge than helping them achieve their own goals? So I love being the force behind and really blowing wind into their wings so they can fully stretch.
I like that. So innovators are what drive you the most to make that impact. You really like innovators.
Well, I've been pioneering all my life. I've been the only woman, the youngest woman, the non-English speaker in all sorts of rooms in corporations. And I know it's hard. And again, there is a cost to pay. So if I can help them believe in themselves so they can manifest that vision that they have, wonderful. It really, fires up my energy. It's at the end of the day, I feel really fulfilled with every conversation like that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ania. And for any startup innovator that will be listening to this, or any other coach that actually wants to reach out to you, they can go into your LinkedIn, Ania Lihota, and they will find you there. And is there any other way? There's also your website.
Yes.
AniaLihota.com, where they will be able to find it on the LinkedIn at the contact info. Apart from these two ways, is there any other way they could connect with you?
No, that's the best way. Thank you.
We will also link those to the description. So thank you so much, Ania, for coming to the podcast.
You're very welcome. And good luck to all of you listening.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.